Hi, and welcome to From the Wings. I'm Stephanie Freed, and I am delighted you are here with us for this very special evening edition of From the Wings. Tonight's conversation is around philanthropy, and I'm thrilled that you're here with us for it. Before we begin that conversation, I would like to thank Webster Bank, our official presenter of the From the Wings series. We are so grateful to Webster Bank for their loyal and generous support today and always. So thank you, Webster Bank. And then joining me today as my co-host is my friend and former From the Wings guest, and of course my colleague, Ellen Nattila, the Bushnell Senior Major in Planned Giving Officer. Welcome, Ellen. I'm thrilled you're here for us to talk about ideas for impactful giving, or as we like to think of it, planned giving with a punch.
Planned giving with a punch. Exactly. Thank you, Stephanie, and welcome to all of you. I look forward to our conversation with our guests this evening. And a little bit later on, I look forward to a special appearance by Lelaneia Dubay of Hartford Flavor Company. She has created a specialty punch just for us and for our event. So stay tuned for that. I want to say a special thank you tonight to our Bushnell Legacy Society members. All of you have, through your many gifts over the years and your gift plans that you have made for us, have really sustained the Bushnell over our 90-plus year history. And we are just tremendously, tremendously grateful for that. And before we begin our conversation about gift planning techniques, Stephanie and I thought it might be kind of fun to take a look at one particular gift that has had a tremendous impact on the Bushnell and on the lives of many students around the state of Connecticut. So here's a peek at the Ensign Darling Vocal Fellowship Program, which was inspired by the vision and funded by the generosity of longtime Bushnell trustee Bob Darling.
A single stem begins to rise. This experience was not what I was expecting. However, it's been very rewarding and very helpful. I've grown so much as a vocalist, and I've learned so much through master classes and from having the vocal teaching and vocal coaching and piano lessons once a week. That's really helped me improve because it's kept me on my game.
I'm very grateful for all the experiences and opportunities that Bushnell's provided me with, the Ensign Darling Vocal Fellowship, and also to have the opportunity to come in and work alongside such amazingly talented people and getting to meet so many people who've changed my life ultimately. It's really just been such a fulfilling experience, and I'm very thankful for it.
The Ensign Darling Vocal Fellowship has really helped me get to do things that I probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise, like weekly singing lessons and coaching sessions and piano classes. I'm part of a different program that the Ensign Darling Fellowship is helping me with, where I learn music theory and ear training and stuff like that. So I definitely wouldn't have been able to do those things if it weren't for the fellowship.
There I'll keep you safe beside me. By asking us questions about our artistry and who we are as people, and I think that's very important for us to explore, especially as we're heading into such momentous years as our college years. And so to have someone to help mentor us through this transition period who has a mind and obviously a voice for the arts is very important, and I love so much. And on you
I just hope hope that I keep growing and keep getting better for the next year.
I hope to continue on developing my artistry, my voice in a college setting so that hopefully, like Ariana, I can become a professional in this field.
Lift me up and tell me to the garden.
I think it's important too that there's so many ways to find the same opportunities in different forms, and just to be able to get to learn more and meet new people and have these new experiences like this today. It's so important.
I think just this experience right now is great because it's basically the first time that I've performed since we shut down in March. And getting to sing with other people has been really like just amazing.
We were one of the first people to sing on the Bushnell stage after COVID, and that's pretty amazing for me, and I think for all of us.
Oh, I love that so much.
Oh, those beautiful, beautiful voices. And I just love that Bob's legacy has touched so many people, has had such a tremendous impact. We have fellows who have performed on Broadway now, who have been part of Broadway touring companies and performed on our own stage. Ariana, who we just saw in the video here, is a teaching artist in our own arts and education programs now. So we are just tremendously proud of all of them. But we want all of you who are joining us tonight to know that you don't have to create an entire program to have a meaningful difference at the Bushnell.
So true. Like every gift makes a difference, right? And we have two guests here with us today who know a ton about ways that giving can be particularly beneficial for both a charity and for the person making that gift. We have Lisa Newfield, a partner at Murtha, Cullina, and Tim Throckmorton, the Senior Vice President of Webster Bank. Welcome, Lisa and Tim.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us on this evening's episode.
Absolutely. So Lisa and Tim, we all serve on a board together, Charitable Gift Planners of Connecticut. So we know each other a little bit, but we would like those joining us tonight to get to know you as well. And wanted to ask if you'd just share a little bit about yourselves and maybe what your connection, whether through your work or otherwise, what your connection to philanthropy is. And maybe Lisa will ask you to kick off.
Well, I'm trust and estates attorney, and I have a special niche in practicing on with clients and with charitable organizations on planned gifts. So I work together with clients to accomplish those gifts, and I also help charities work with their donors to accomplish those gifts. I'm on the professional advisory council of many organizations, and so I try to be involved with those organizations. And personally, we donate, we participate in fundraisers and all sorts of things, and I try to teach that to my kids. So I find that's very important.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we are so grateful for your support of the Bushnell, both, again, by being here tonight and through your giving and coming to see Broadway shows. And it's terrific. Tim, we know you both because of your connection to us through Webster Bank, but you are also a member and work as a part of our board of ambassadors. I would love for you to introduce yourself to our guests and share a little more about your connection.
Well, thanks, Stephanie. And like Lisa, I'm an attorney by training. and did spend some time practicing law, and then have been at various financial institutions in the last 8 years at Webster Private Bank, and really worked my whole career with individuals and helping them do their financial planning and estate planning. But like Lisa, my real love is the charitable planning and helping people with that, because at the end, it really benefits a charity and it puts smiles on the faces of the people giving the money and the people getting the money. So that's really my passion, and my passion really also is the performing arts, and is why I really love working with the Bushnell on these types of talks. I've worked with Ellen on these for 5-6 years at this point, and really enjoy it very much, and love the Bushnell family, and it's great to be a part of this. So thank you both.
Oh, thank you. It has been several years. This is the first one we've done virtually. Usually we are in the Bushnell, and we're excited that, come fall, we'll all be able to get back there again. So just to maybe kind of frame our conversation before we get started, first off, both of you, Lisa and Tim, you have tremendous depth of knowledge on so many gift planning techniques. But given our format tonight, we kind of just wanted to hit some highlights, and thought we would focus the conversation around 3 different types or techniques of giving that can be very impactful for both the donor and for the charity. We would love to talk with you about gifts of stock, about using retirement plans to make a gift, and about making a gift through a will. And maybe I'll just kick it back to Stephanie to kind of get things going with you.
Yeah, well, let's start with stock, right? The stock market's been doing remarkably well over this last year. Does that make it a good time to give stock? And if so, why?
Sure. Well, I'll start off, Stephanie. It makes it a great time, because if you sell stock, then you will incur a capital gain. And often we don't think of giving stock directly to a charity, either while we're here or through our will or whatever. We don't think as much about giving stock, but it can be a great tax saving strategy for the individual when they have appreciated stock, and especially when that's appreciated stock that they are willing to let go of. And so no matter what your tax situation, you still will save the 20% capital gains tax plus a little more of that on the state side. You'd save that capital gains tax by giving it to charity, and you get a tax deduction for the full amount that you give. So it's a great way to not pay tax yourself but benefit charity. And so many people just think of giving cash to charity currently, and it's a great way. Even if it's $200, $300, $400, $500 gift that you want to make to charity, like the Bushnell, then you can give stock instead, and you save taxes, and the Bushnell benefits from that.
Okay.
And I think for individuals who are considering larger gifts, but maybe still want to receive the income, the dividends that they were getting from these stocks, they can also think about using a split interest trust, and having those stocks, fund that trust, get a charitable deduction for a portion of that gift, have that capital gain, the assets be sold and reinvested or kept, however the trust is set up, and that the individual can have an income stream from that trust as well. So they get an income stream and they get a charitable deduction. So sometimes that's a real great benefit for someone who's looking to keep those dividends or interest.
Yeah, beneficial all the way around. So what if right now I had, for instance, a highly appreciated stock that would be advantageous from a tax standpoint to give now, but I also really want to keep that stock in my portfolio?
Well, what some people do is they give that stock to charity, and then they turn around and buy that stock back in their portfolio. And usually that type of transaction isn't allowed because of what's called the 30-day wash sale rule. And because the IRS wouldn't like it if you sold a stock, took a gain, and then turned around and bought that back. So this, by giving it away to charity, you get the benefit of the charity gets the benefit of that, just like we talked about the tax deduction, but then you can replace it back in your portfolio. And so it's a great way for people to continue with the portfolio if they really love that stock. Although I will say, having been in this business forever, don't fall in love with any stocks.
I would think about Apple stock, and had I just bought it in high school when it was like pennies, had I just done that then? Ellen, did you have a question?
Cardinal rule of stocks from Tim. I did. Is there a bad time to make a gift of stock? Are there reasons why somebody should not do that at a certain time when they're looking at their portfolio?
Well, if you want, I wouldn't donate, depreciated stocks. You're probably better off taking the loss on your personal income tax return and then making a gift of cash in that situation. You won't get the same benefits you would giving appreciated stock, whether to a trust or directly to the charity.
Yeah, and I think also if you have a stock that you really think is going to appreciate a lot more, you might want to hold that and give that later on down the road, because you'll have a higher tax deduction by doing that, and you'll save more taxes. There is one area too that you might want to think about, that if you have your own company or you own closely held stock that's family stock, and you have a private foundation, you don't want to give closely held stock to a private foundation, because you don't get the benefit of fair market value deduction, meaning you don't get a deduction for the current price of that. You get instead a deduction for the price that you bought that for. So it's just kind of a minor little thing. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. If you have but you pretty much want to think of giving publicly traded stock to public charities, no problem.
Sounds like.
And the Bushnell is a public charity, by the way, in case you're wondering about that.
Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
Thanks for that plug. Let's shift a little bit, if we can, and talk about retirement plans. We just, at the Bushnell, even in the past several years, from our own experience in receiving gifts, have noticed that this seems to be a more popular way to give, whether as a current gift or as a future gift, as a gift that comes as a legacy gift. And it also seems to be a fairly straightforward, a fairly simple process for people. And I might be wrong about that. So I would love to ask the two of you, maybe Lisa, you'd kind of start us off to talk about retirement plans. And say someone would like to make a current gift. Can you talk about who even is able to do that, and what the advantages of doing so are, and kind of what the process would be if somebody wanted to make that type of gift?
Well, there is a special rule for individuals 70 and a half and older who can take up to $100,000 a year from their IRA, have it go directly from the financial institution to a public charity, and that qualifies as a qualified charitable distribution. And so it also counts towards their required minimum distribution, although I'll go into that in a second, and it's not part of their taxable income. So it's a great tool for someone who wants to give to charity, doesn't want to have to report that income on their income tax return and then pay income tax at a higher rate. And it's a pretty fairly straightforward gift. You don't really need a lawyer involved at all. You do it directly with the financial institution. You definitely should talk to the charity, let them know that it's coming so that, everyone's on the same page. But it is pretty straightforward. It can only go to a public charity though. So it cannot, you can't make a qualified distribution to a donor advised fund or a private foundation. But that's really a great tool. I also think that IRAs are great to give as beneficiary designations. So, for if you have someone who has, $1 million in an IRA and $1 million in assets, and they want to make gifts to charity and they want to benefit their children, for example, the best way to do that would be to give the $1 million in the estate to the children and the $1 million IRA to charity, because an IRA is what we call income in respect of a decedent. And as the distributions come out, they're taxed at income rates. And that doesn't happen for a charity because it's an exempt organization. So it's a more tax efficient way to divide the estate.
Okay.
If that's something that someone wanted to do a beneficiary designation, and entirely give that to charity, but say I want to do that and I'm married, is that something that my spouse needs to sign something to say I am aware of this happening and I'm good with that?
That applies for like a 401k. So there's certain plans where that will apply, but not for an IRA.
Maybe I can just mention one other thing on that, and that is, it used to be that our house was our largest assets, but increasingly it's the retirement plan that's our largest asset. And so there's really, as Lisa says, some serious tax savings that can happen by planning well to give your IRAs now or at the time of death to charity. It can be some significant tax savings because it's often our largest asset.
Thank you. Yeah,
just a note, we do need to be careful if we're dividing the retirement between charity and family. There are some special rules, so just be mindful of that. You may want to speak with an advisor before setting that up.
Good point, Lisa.
And Lisa, go ahead, Steph.
I was just going to say, before we leave the topic of before we leave this topic, can I use a retirement plan to make a future gift?
Well, you can do it as a beneficiary designation. That would be a gift on your death. That's where the assets would go. But so that's the way you can make a future gift of the retirement plan.
Okay, got it.
But not, and I wonder, I don't know if you were getting at this, Stephanie, but say if someone were kind of giving to a campaign where they were making a pledge over multiple years, you wouldn't necessarily.
No, this beneficiary designation is only going to be effective on death.
Yeah.
So the only way to give to charity during your lifetime from a retirement account would be if you qualified under the special rules for qualified charitable distributions, you can make a gift that way. And there you can give up to $100,000 a year from an IRA.
Right. Okay. Got it.
And you mentioned, Lisa, the age 70 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct that the required minimum distribution now starts at age 72?
That's correct. That changed in 2020. So for someone who was 70 and a half in 2019, they are still following the old rules for distributions. But for persons who were 70 and a half in 2020, they can wait till 72 to start having to take out those distributions. But for the qualified charitable distribution, you only have to be 70 and a half. So you can still, qualify under that program.
Thank you. Thank you. I wasn't sure I was entirely clear on that, but that seems like it could be a great advantage for people sometimes.
One more point that I often point out to people for making gifts at the time of death out of a retirement plan is that even though Lisa and I are both attorneys, you don't have to see an attorney to do that. I mean, you may want to, but it's easy to just change your beneficiary designation. You just, go to your bank, your brokerage firm, whoever handles that, and you can change your beneficiary designation. As Lisa said, you do have to watch out when you have individuals and charities together and so on, but it's relatively simple to do and relatively simple if you change your mind. If there was another organization you were giving money to, but now you want to name all of your IRA to the Bushnell, then you can change that on your own without having to, pay your lawyer's fee, et cetera. So it's an inexpensive way to actually change your designation and tax and very tax advantage too. So
okay. Well, so when I think about this idea of packing a punch in philanthropy, I think of bequests or gifts made by will, because it seems that so many people have done so over time. And Lisa and Tim, I'd love it if you would talk with us a little bit about wills. I recently came across a statistic that indicated that more than half of American adults don't have a will. So before we even talk about making a charitable gift by will, would you share with us why it's important just to have a will in the first place?
Well, it's important because if you have assets in your own individual name, you will not get to decide who benefits from those assets. The state does. And you have to follow the state rules of where you live to determine who benefits from your estate. You would have no say in who controls your estate in terms of, handling it. If there are minors involved or disabled beneficiaries, that also poses other problems in terms of being able to manage the monies that they'll receive. So every situation is different, but every situation usually is better off with a will, even if it's a very simple will. And they don't have to be complicated. It just really depends on the circumstances, and it depends on what someone's looking to accomplish.
Got it. And the images we're seeing on the screen right now are actually where we acknowledge people who have given to us, many of them through wills. It's our legacy society. But I think that giving through the will as a vehicle has been a super important part of how planned giving has lifted up the Bushnell, even especially during this challenging time, helping us build endowment, helping us continue to move forward into the future. Ellen, I know you had some questions related to wills.
I did, thanks. So first off, the takeaway, I think, Lisa, from what you said is everybody should have a will. You should really think seriously about that. And if you don't have a will, perhaps after this program, you should go about the business of speaking with your attorney and putting that in place. For someone who is, working with their counsel to create a will, who knows that they would like to make a gift to charity or multiple charities in their will, what would you, as their attorney, need from them? What would you need to know? How would you recommend to your client that the charity be involved, if at all? Just kind of how does all that work? And are there varying types of gifts within a will that people could consider?
So within a will, you can either do a cash bequest to charity, which is, typically the simplest, a $10,000 cash bequest to the Bushnell. That's fairly straightforward. You can do a percentage of your estate, 10%, 50% of the residuary estate goes to charity. You could also, set up trusts under your will for, that benefit family and charity, such as a charitable remainder unit trust or a charitable lead trust. So there's lots of different ways that you can incorporate charity in your plan. And it just really depends on the goal of, how much of your estate you're looking to give away to charity. How much do you want to have your family also reap some of the, get some of the benefits of your inheritance as well. And so there's lots of different ways to do it. If we're talking about major gifts, or if we're talking about gifts where there's going to be restrictions, where someone maybe wants their monies to go towards a particular program or to fund the building of some, for the organization, you do need to get the organization involved. The organization needs to, because you want to make sure that what you're putting into the will is going to be accomplished and is going to work, and that the money that you're setting up is going to go where you don't want to have to deal with the problem later on after someone dies and find out that that program doesn't exist anymore, or that was not something that they're able to do with this size of a fund. So there's a lot, so the bigger ones, I think you do need to get the organizations involved with.
And I know for us, we certainly are always grateful every time someone notifies us that they have, whether they've made a gift in their will or created some other type of gift plan for the Bushnell. We appreciate knowing that because it gives us the opportunity to say thank you. It gives us the opportunity to, if that person wants, to recognize them on our legacy wall and kind of hopefully, Tim, you said something earlier on about, how everybody should feel great about this type of giving when they do it. And that is our goal too. We certainly want people who are thoughtful enough and thinking far ahead about what they might want to do for the Bushnell and their plans to know how much we appreciate it and to also, get to enjoy feeling good about that when they come to the Bushnell. How about if somebody already has their will written and hadn't included any bequests to charity? Maybe it was just very straightforward and bequests were going to children and grandchildren. But now they want to do something for a charity or multiple charities. Is that easy to do? How would they go about doing that?
It's very easy. I mean, they could do a new will. You can change your will as many times as you want up until you die. So, it's all on a computer now. So it's just as easy as in the old days when we did codicils. But it's a pretty straightforward process. And again, it just really depends on what they're looking to do and what they're looking to accomplish. A simple cash bequest is very easy. If we're talking about setting up a charitable lead trust or charitable remainder trust, that's a little bit more complicated, but it can all be accomplished in revising their will. And another thing just to point out, going back to the idea of, beneficiary designations. I mean, one of the things that we do with clients when we meet with them is kind of review their overall assets. And so if that person was thinking about giving to charity now, they may not need to redo their will if they have something like an IRA and they feel comfortable giving that asset to charity. So they can also, make their gift through beneficiary designations as well.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, Lisa and Tim. This is terrific, really useful, I think, thought-provoking information. And we are grateful that you are spending some time with us today. We are also grateful that Lelaneia Dubay of Hartford Flavor Company has created a signature cocktail just for us. And I would like to say welcome to Lelaneia to share with us her center stage punch.
Hi, I'm Lelaneia with Hartford Flavor Company, and we're here to make the center stage punch. Welcome this evening. I hope you're having lots of fun, and are you ready for a signature cocktail? I know I am. So here we go. First, you're going to start with the garnish, and it's going to be a long peel of a lemon, and we're doing kind of as long as you can make it. Sometimes it cuts short, but sometimes it can go nice and long, and that will be our garnish. We'll just leave that aside for now. And now we are going to build the cocktail in your smaller side of your shaker. I'm putting some ice in there. And we're going to be using the cranberry wild moon and the sumac wild moon. So 1 ounce of each. 1 ounce of our wild moon cranberry to start. This is pungent and juicy and very berry, so it adds that nice color too. And sumac is from our Wild Moon Botanics line. It together makes a really interesting flavor. I had a bartender friend tell me that he likes to call this combination Crenumac. So we're going to make a punch with Crenumac. And then 1 ounce of a brandy, anything kind of brandy you want. You could also use a rum for this. as well as a bourbon or an aged tequila might be nice in here too. So very flexible, but the brandy combines nicely and gives it a little bit of dark spirit flavor. You can even use bourbon if you are feeling racy. Okay, and now I'm going to take a nice wedge of the lemon that I have, and I'm going to squeeze it in there, and then I'm going to also throw it in because I want those flavors from the peel. So squeeze it on in there, and then throw it in because you want that pungency. So now we're going to shake this. So here we go. Are you ready? Woo! The fun part. Sounds like there's a good drink in my future. Shake it well. Anytime you add lemon to a drink, you want to shake it very well. All right. So now we're going to put it into a Collins glass. We're just going to put everything, the ice, everything in there. Look at that great color. And now I'm going to put the peel in before I mix. So it goes right around the glass in kind of a creative way. Try that. And now I'm going to do 3 ounces of some ginger ale. Perfect. And now I'm going to stir just ever so gently. Just a nice little swirl. And of course, a perfect paper straw for the occasion. And you've got a center stage punch. Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much for participating. Enjoy. Perfect.
That looks so delicious. Thanks so much to Lelaneia, and for anyone who is interested in making their very own center stage punch, you can get everything you need at Hartford Flavor Company. We love them. They're amazing. And Lisa and Tim, you are amazing. And we are so glad to have you here with us today. And we appreciate joining Ellen and me for this conversation, sharing your knowledge with us. I know I learned a lot. It sounds like from the comments we're seeing at the bottom, our viewers have learned a lot. I will mention that one of our viewers, one of our favorite people, Larry Starr, shared that you'll want to talk with your financial advisor and your attorney to make sure that the gifts you're making, work within all the rules and regulations. He talks there specifically about the 70.5 rule of IRA contributions. But again, thank you for joining us today. It was delightful.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you, Ellen. And thank you for spending this time with us today. And as we wrap up today's conversation, just a reminder that during this extended intermission, while we wait for Broadway and everything else to come back to the Bushnell, we depend on private support now more than ever. We're especially grateful for the continued commitment of Webster Bank and all of our intermission partners. On your screen are many of our current corporate and foundation supporters, and it's thanks to their generosity and the support of our individual donors that we're able to continue our work to bring the very best in arts education and the performing arts, both virtually and, when the time is right and it's safe to do so, live on our stages and in our classrooms. And of course, as we've discussed, your support through giving, through subscription, through ticket purchases, it helps sustain us. It helps to sustain us and ensures that we are here and we are ready for you to come back. If you'd like to make your gift today, whether it's a renewal or it's your very first gift, I hope you'll do so at bushnell.org/donate now. Or if you want to talk with someone at the Bushnell about a future gift in your will or any other planned giving plans that we talked about today, you can reach out to my colleague, Ellen Nattila, my colleague and friend, at the information right here in this bottom third. As a final reminder, As I always do, if you haven't already signed up for our e-club, I hope you will. You can do so at bushnell.org/e-club. And I hope you'll join us for our next From the Wings on Thursday, June 17th. We are going to have a very special guest. I can't tell you who it is now, but I promise it'll be great. And until then, thank you. And I hope that you are well, and I will look forward to seeing you on June 17th. Thanks so much.